GotAUkulele goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. Keep watching. Yes, welcome back. It's GotAUkulele review day. As ever, this is the summary video review. You'll find a link below each review video taking you to the website. You get a lot more information about this review, this model, and all my other reviews are there as well. Some thank yous running across the bottom of the screen. Every week I say thank you to people who generously donate using the links that are there below this video, but also on the website. They help keep this site going because I don't take payments from brands or stores. They would just be adverts. Plenty of reviewers are doing that. That's not what I'm about. These are real impartial reviews. And you can also help me out by helping get that subscriber count higher. As I said last week, it topped over 30,000, so I'm immensely grateful to those people aiming for 40. Okay, as I said in the introduction, probably a little bit unfair from the sublime to the ridiculous, because last week I looked at an insanely good instrument, the likes of which I've never seen before. I've seen this brand many times before, and I think it's fair to say I've yet to be impressed. Now, it's a brand that I really, really like. My favourite instrument that I own is an electric guitar that's sat over there that's made by this brand. They've been making ukuleles for a little while now, and they've just never yet wowed me. It's Fender, and this is the Fender Rincon Tenor ukulele. Now, I always then get negative comments from people saying I'm trying to run Fender down, I hate Fender. I don't hate Fender. As I say, I own Fender guitars. They make those brilliantly. I just don't think they make very good ukuleles. Well, they make passable ukuleles, but I think they're kind of just off the peg that they've stuck their headstock onto, but otherwise tend to be very generic. This Rincon first caught my attention when I reviewed the Fender Danny Harrison ukulele. Again, not a bad ukulele, but not out of this world. But I did run that one down because it's quite expensive, whereas the specs were exactly the same as the Rincon. That was to say, solid Ovencoll top, laminate Ovencoll back and sides, and a pickup. So I bought this one. And I didn't really look at the specs when I bought it in the UK, and I thought, okay, I know what the Rincon is. Then I looked into it a little bit more. Something's changed. In the UK, this is now all laminate Ovencoll, and they have also downgraded the pickup from a Fishman to a Fender. And then more confusing, I went on the Fender USA website. The original Rincon is still there with the solid top and the Fishman pickup, as is this one, with all laminate construction and a lesser pickup. And here's the thing, they're both the same price. I think that's really, really cynical. Now look, Fender, if you're running down the first model and going with the second model, don't have them both on the website at the same time. That's really unfair on people. Imagine buying the laminate one and then realising, well, for the same money I could have had the solid top one. There's my rant out the way. This is all laminate Ovencoll. And where this does change from the original is this top finishing, which they call aged cognac. And I must admit, Ovencoll is not the most attractive wood, very plain, kind of like mahogany. But I rather like that. I think that's an upgrade on the original, even though it is all laminate. So yeah, there's kind of sunburst top, nice colour to it, and then there's contrast with the standard Ovencoll, two pieces on the back, top and sides, very plain and brown on the back and sides, and this warm red colour on the top. I think that's an improvement. It is all laminate. I think the pricing thing is really, really cynical, and it's annoyed me from the off, but I'm just trying to be as impartial as I can. Like all Fenders, put together pretty well, finished rather well as well. This bridge, made of walnut, they call it a no-tie bridge. It's a slot bridge. It's as old as the hills. Really quite chunky though. Look how high it is. And it's just basically bare, unfinished wood. It's really quite rough to the touch. It just looks like it's not been finished properly. Sitting in that is a straight topped bone saddle. Decoration is actually pretty nice. Cream binding to the back and the top, and a fairly sympathetic, subtle abalone sound hole ring. I think that all works well with the with this colouring on the top. And it's all finished in an open pore satin, which is pretty well done. A few little pits and holes in it, but to be honest, Fender finishes usually are pretty good, to be fair. And then they ruin it, don't they? They stick that in the side. As I say, that's a downgrade from the original Rincon, which is still available in the USA, where you get a Fishman. This is a Fender brand. Now, these are all done to a budget. These are all cheap. You know I don't like these. Too much wiring, too much weight, and it feels chunky. And it's ugly. Just give me a passive pickup or an acoustic option so I can choose my own pickup. I don't like people choosing my pickup for me. Though I had somebody complain that I'm dead against active pickups. I'm not. I just, something like a Misi is a very good active pickup, but not like that. Really don't like those. Okay, it's pretty tidy inside as well. Notched kerfing, thin braces, loads of wiring inside. Loads and loads of wiring, as you'd expect. This is all right down here, although cynical, as I say. The neck is made of NATO, which is very, very cheap hardwood. There's a joint at the heel. I think there's no joint up at the headstock. And it tapers down. I've played lots of Fender ukuleles like this. It's really fat here. The nut sits high and is positively sharp on the ends when you're playing in first position. I mean, that leaves marks in my thumb. That's awful. I really hate these Fender necks. And it's really narrow, 35mm 27 G2A. Skinny, fat, tall nut. No, don't like that. Don't like that fingerboard either. This is walnut. How pale? Do you know, just a little bit of stain on that to darken it, and my God, it needs some oil, would make a world of difference to the look of this. That just really looks cheap. It's got 19 frets, 14 to the body. It's edge bound in cream. I don't like this edge binding where it goes all the way around. Now, edge binding, you think, oh great, that means no sharp fret ends. The sharp fret ends. How do you put sharp fret ends on an instrument that's been edge bound? It's just ridiculous. Position dots face out at 5, 7, 10, 12 and 15. They are repeated with black dots on the side. Beyond that bone nut, which is, as I say, really sharp on the edges, although the overall setup on this is okay. Every time I review a Fender, I complain about that. Look, I like the Fender headstock. I like the Fender headstock on their electric guitars. It's very, very signature. I understand that straight strings like that, good for strings not binding in the nut. Great, but then it really never did Kamaka any harm over 100 years. That's the Strat style. I just don't think it suits a small acoustic instrument. It looks really weird. Purely subjective, of course. The Fender logo, spaghetti style, there, screen printed in. I don't like them either. What? These are guitar tuners. These are massive vintage. You don't want big chunky tuners like this on a small instrument. No, don't like that. The website specs don't tell you what the strings are, but there's a swing tag here that tells you that they are indeed Aquila. And you also get this padded gig bag. Fender, take note, because that's actually all right as a padded gig bag. And then the price, RRP, £189, and there's a US equivalent, 200 and something. But as I say, bear in mind that original Rincon is still available in the USA for the same money. Get that one. Why market them both together? That really, really irritates me. Either way, though, even if this was the only one available, I still don't think that's great value for money anyway, because you can get solid top things by Uma and Flight with pickups in them for about the same money, if not a bit less. Those solid topped and Nui-Nuis, okay, no pickup. The tenor versions of those, less, but I wouldn't want to pick up in this one anyway. I actually think it's a little bit expensive for what you're getting. This is just an all laminate instrument. And as I said from the off, I just kind of think that Fender just sort of dial them in. They just sort of, yeah, give us one of those, put a Fender headstock on it, and that's the Fender. They've not developed it from the ground up, and it disappoints me because they can develop from the ground up. They make some wonderful instruments. If they made a Fender solid electric made in Mexico, they'd clean up. They would finish the business of Risa and Flight electrics, I promise you. But they don't. They just do these. Okay, as I say, it's, you know, the pickup's in there, but it does balance okay. It's 700 grams. With all Fenders, the fit and finish is pretty decent. Those sharp frets, don't like those tuners. Don't like the headstock, don't like the pickup, don't like the chunky bridge. Not a fan of that either, because that's not the strongest part of the body to fit that in, but, you know, minor point. But Fenders also, I find, sound a bit generic. I mean, I've not played them that sound bad. They sound like decent enough ukuleles, but there's not really the character to them, and I think that's just because they're a generic box that they've put a headstock on. No one sort of sat down and said, let's design the tuning and the bracing of this one. I don't suppose you're going to get that for this kind of money, but I've played Uma, Flight, Kai for this kind of money that have some real character to them. That tiny tenor, is that Uma or Kai? Can't remember. Really nice sound. Volume is good. Sustain, not so. It just kind of fades down rather quickly, and I hate the feel of this nut, so I'm probably going to play this badly. It's alright, it's pretty enough, but there isn't that sparkle. Really hard to describe. Just isn't that sparkle there. It could sound like any instrument, really. Any one of those Amazon specials for about 70 quid. I just can't get excited about it. Now, when these people comment and say you hate Fender, I actually go and look at all my Fender reviews. None of them have had really bad scores. One or two very cheap ones did. They're always in the 8s. They just don't get into the, I want to give you a recommendation of this one, for the simple reason that for less money, I think you can get a better sounding, more characterful instrument. It's like, I think the decision comes down, is that important to you? Is that name important to you? Because otherwise, I don't see why you'd buy this. But then some people really do go for the name. And I think what's sad is that they assume, they see the Fender name and go, oh, it must be good. And they don't understand what the name Flight is, or Kai is, or Uma is, or Baton Rouge is, or all those other value instruments. And you'd be better with those than this, in my opinion. I don't know. Fender, come on, you can do this. Go and make and develop from the ground up, not in China, which is where this is made. Some of them are made in Indonesia, this is made in China. Don't develop it there, make it in Mexico, put a sensible price on it, 400, 500, 600 quid, something like that, but make it properly, or make a solid electric in the Mexican factory. You'd absolutely clean up, because I don't think you're taking the ukulele seriously with your models. I think you're just on the bandwagon to have a ukulele to sell, and I think that's a shame. Come on, Fender, do a real ukulele, develop one, build it from the ground up, maybe get a luthier in. It can be done, and you've got the brand heritage to do it. Sorry, that turned into a bit of a rant. I think this is cynical. I think that marketing of the two at once has really annoyed me, but I'm just putting that out of my head. This is still a pretty generic, all laminate instrument. Okay, there's a bit of money in that pickup, but that's going to be done to a budget. It's still a laminate instrument that can be bettered by many brands. You just don't get a recognisable name on the headstock. The Fender Rincon Tenor, all laminate oven coal with this aged cognac sunburst finish, which I do like actually. Unremarkable. Okay, I think we're in a heat wave next week in the UK. Great, it's very warm in here now. I'm perspiring on my forehead. I am back next week. I don't know what's coming next week. I don't know what's coming. I think we're going to have quite a bit of a sort of... Do I look depressed after looking at that Ray Vincent next week? I do have some nice stuff coming in the pipeline, though. A few months away, though. Some really nice stuff. Thank you for your ongoing support. Much appreciated. I hope you enjoy these. Thanks for the subscribers. Thanks for those who donate. I will be back next week. Take care of yourselves. Look after each other. See you all very soon. Bye-bye.